Hello and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris.
And I'm Sharaad Kuttan.
You're watching Consider This, the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Now, recently, the removal of cabotage exemptions for foreign registered vessels repairing undersea cables had made headlines. Now, this was especially after tech giants like Microsoft and Facebook and Google had argued that the move will hurt Malaysia's internet stability as it will cause delays in the repair of internet submarine cables when they are damaged. Now, in a nutshell, the cabotage policy restricts foreign registered ships from operating in domestic waters without a permit. Under the Pakatan Harapan government, an exemption was given, specifically allowing foreign ships to repair undersea cables and improve Malaysia's maintenance record, which was poor compared to peers in the region. Now, on the other side of the debate, though, the local shipping industry argues that cabotage policies protect the interests of Malaysian ship owners, especially at a time when the industry is being hit by COVID-19. So tonight on the show, we will be looking at how cabotage policies benefit the Malaysian maritime industry, but if this comes at a cost to Malaysian consumers. Datuk Dr. Sabirin is the Director General of the Maritime Industry of Malaysia, which is a government research outfit looking into matters relating to Malaysia's interests at sea. We welcome him to the show. Hello, good evening, Datuk. Welcome to Consider This. Now, we've laid out the recent scenario of the cabotage policy, but perhaps before we get into the latest developments, maybe you can give us a little bit of a background as to how the cabotage policy was first implemented in Malaysia.
Yeah, for those who are not quite familiar with the term cabotage, it is just a right to operate and transport goods within the country. When you talk about cabotage policy, it talks about about the policy in which the government would like to protect its domestic shipping from the competition from the foreign companies, foreign giants, and to protect. And this is important because that the government has got a long-term policy for the security as well. Because when we have foreign companies, foreign shipping companies operating in the country, in time of crisis, you cannot rely on them. They will not be here. So we have to build our own shipping infrastructure, vessels, which are Malaysian flag. For this, will help them in fact to grow and to in fact to go overseas later on. And this also will complement the infrastructure of the local shipping industry. This is important that along with that, we need to build infrastructure like ports, like warehouses, transport and roads, to help the economy. So there is the policy, in fact, is not new. It has been implemented in so many other countries. In fact, in the world, we have probably 80% of the maritime nations under the United Nations. They are implementing this cabotage policy.
So the cabotage policy was in place for a while, and then last year, under Pakatan Harapan, the exemption was given to foreign registered vessels. Is that right?
It is not so, because I think
am I getting that wrong?
2017, the Prime Minister then, in fact, is the one who actually liberalized this to extend it to Sabah and Sarawak. Yeah, because there was a complaint from the people in that area that the cost, despite of course a higher living, is actually the direct cost by this cabotage policy.
Right.
Oh, sorry, by the liberalization. Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps you could help us understand what the impact, of the policy is in terms of cost to foreign vessels. Is it simply about going online and registering and say, well, we're going to be using your territorial waters to, to ply our business, or is there cost to it, and what would that be like, just to help us understand why it's become such an issue?
The issue is that because I think they were used to the cabotage policy, because they used to it, they actually comfortable with the old system, yeah. But it does not augur well for the country, for the shipping industry, because we need to grow as well.
Yeah, so my question really is about the cost to foreign vessels.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand you laid out all the objectives, and we really have to get into the question of whether the objectives were met. But the issue here really is like, what exactly happens when you have a cabotage policy? When foreign vessels register or seek permission, what are they paying? Are they paying money to the Malaysian government? Does it take time to get the permits?
Who approves it? Yeah. Who approves whether a foreign registered vessel may operate in Malaysian domestic waters?
Yeah, it is the government. It's a government. We have this Jabatan Laut Malaysia, Marine Department, who does all this. And the cabotage started, I think, in 1980. We had the policy then for the government in which there is an amendment to the law, Machine Shipping Act 1952. In 1980, it was amended to set up the local shipping industry. And with that, to protect that, come this cabotage policy. And
they pay a fee? Do foreign vessels pay a fee?
No, because they have to get permit from us, of course.
Do they pay money for the permit?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Is it huge? I mean, the question is it prohibitive cost? I mean, is it like, okay, if 10 ringgit, then it wouldn't matter?
It's not really. It depends very much. I can give you the figure here. But, you know, of course, every license we have to pay for it, yeah. But the issue now is that the services that they give, it's easier for them actually to go direct to the ports. Just say our study in MIMA is about this, the effect of cabotage policy in Sabah and Sarawak.
Okay.
But the policy of the government then was actually to make Port Klang as the prime ports for transshipment hub for the country to compete with Singapore then. Yeah. So with this, foreign vessels have got to go to Port Klang first before they can go to the local ports in Sabah and Sarawak.
Right.
With the exception of, I think, Sabah. However, we have a lot of actually local shipping companies in Sarawak. They are able to do this. With this policy, they are actually in a very disadvantaged position because it's hard to compete with the giant from overseas. Yeah.
Okay. I do want to touch on the impact of the cabotage policy specifically on Sabah, but what's been making headlines recently is the concern of the cabotage exemption that might impact Malaysia's internet stability, that it might take longer for us to fix undersea internet cables because we don't have the capabilities for those types of vessels. Now, how would you respond to concerns that Malaysian ship owners currently don't have the capabilities to address undersea cable repairs in a timely manner? Last year, we heard Anthony Loke in Parliament say that Malaysia has one vessel to carry out, and therefore we take an average of 27 days for undersea cable repairs. You compare that, Vietnam's only 12 days. Yeah. How do we think this through?
I can only echo in the answer given by the Minister of Transport, in response to his question in Parliament. They say we have no problem with that. We have the capability. We have 4 vessels ready for that. The issue is about cost. Probably it's not about capability or whether we can do it. Issue of course is a separate matter.
But time. So the issue was time. If we are so far behind our regional peers. We're far behind Singapore, well, far behind Vietnam, but then also behind
Singapore 19 days, so if I may, Philippines 20 days, Singapore 19 days, Vietnam 12 days, and we are 27 days. So the idea was if we had the cabotage exemption, we could cut that time in half.
But according to the minister that we answered the question, of course he got to listen to the officers, It was 10 days actually. We were using the local shipping. It's not 27 days.
So we have a dispute over the actual
time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't see having cabotage exemption, the policy of cabotage exemption removed, you don't see that impacting consumers and internet stability in Malaysia?
Not really. But the study MIMA that we were commissioned by the ministry is that to study about the impact about the opening up of the cabotage policy in Sabah and Sarawak.
Right.
Because people complain that this is the reason for the rise of the the cost of goods.
Almost 30% rise in price.
But when we go to do a field study, do research, it's not so. In fact, people on the ground don't understand what is cabotage policy, but they see actually the price is going up. But we met the people in the industry, the people who interview them. Actually, you know, the cost of living going up is not a direct cost of the cabotage policy.
So what explains the difference between the price of goods in Sabah specifically compared to Peninsular Malaysia?
Because I think the players are, you know, is raising the price, not from this. Because previous to this, they sometimes complain that actually the transshipment cost of shipping actually transferred to the consumers. It is not so.
Right. So let's just come back to some of the objectives of the cabotage policy. So building local domestic capacity, turning Port Klang into a major hub. Now, how's that panned out? I mean, has Port Klang become a major player in the region as a consequence of the cabotage policy?
But of course, it's better than before.
But how do we measure better than before? I mean, what is our standard? Are we comparing ourselves to a Singapore?
Singapore, of course, is far beyond. But we must have our own capability. You know, we cannot rely totally on a bigger port like Singapore. And now we see there are some other ports growing up in Malaysia. Not only Port Klang, we have Tanjung Pelepas as well. Right. We have Pengerang, and we have those in Sabah and Sarawak.
Dr. Sabirin, every policy has a trade-off, right? There are pros and cons. You can't please all stakeholders. The cabotage policy meant to protect the domestic shipping industry. Who are the losers of this policy? Who suffers from this policy, from this protectionist policy?
Well, it's hard to answer without a study on this, you know. But I agree with you, Melisa. However, when we weigh these two, I think this cabotage, I think, is actually good for the country, yeah. Because we have done it before, you know. We tried to liberalize for Sabah and Sarawak. It didn't give the effect that we wanted, yeah. But what we do now, I think, looking at the country now and how we compete with other countries as well, we need to have a real good ports infrastructure, you know, and hopefully, you know, in the not very near future, that we can actually compete. You know, we have the facilities, we have the infrastructure, we have this ecosystem in which, because Malaysia being a maritime nation, we should have this, you know, ports. We are capable to cater for international trade. Okay. And I think Port Klang has done quite well, I think.
Right. Well, let's come back and talk a little bit about the infrastructure and the ecosystem supporting Malaysia's maritime industry. We're going to take a quick break here and consider this, but we'll be back with more, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris. With me is Sharaad Kuttan, and we're speaking tonight to Datuk Dr. Sabirin Jaafar. He's the Director General of the Maritime Institute of Malaysia, which is a government policy outfit that looks at Malaysia's maritime industry. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the impact of the pandemic and how that has perhaps created obstacles or slowed down the maritime industry. Maybe you can shed some light. What has this past year been like for the maritime industry? No
denying this is a bad year, you know, including for everybody, you know, including in the shipping industry, because ships, they sail, you know, they go to ports, you know, and when this pandemic struck them, they are most affected. We have crew members, where we have to be quarantined, and we have ports which are not ready, and the policy also is not quite ready for this. We have this concept of port of refuge, but we never expect this to happen in this way, through pandemics, not through war or other crises. Yeah? So it was slow down. Well, some industry like is really affected, probably not cargo, but industry like we have this leisure cruise, for example. We have been listening to reports that some of them, is affected, and they have to be quarantined on board, and they can go anywhere. So this, of course, is a really, give a strain, some sort of a problem to this industry. Right. But I want to echo what my minister says, Yang Muhammad Datuk, that we can see signs of recovery now in this shipping industry, probably faster than others, because 95% of the world trade is done through
seaborne.
Seaborne, yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, so, can you help us understand what's, sort of evolved from the beginning of the pandemic till now? We actually did speak to merchant mariners, about the onboarding and offboarding issues
crew change.
That's right, crew change, that they actually were a huge challenge for them at that early part of the pandemic. What's happening now in terms of the SOPs and getting in place something more fair to all the stakeholders?
We had a lot of things, but I think I better leave it to the KKM, Kementerian Kesihatan. They are the one in charge. Of course, this is not very smooth because it's the first time they're having it. Yeah, like the crew change. You need a lot of crews from foreign countries. They have to be stopped. They have to be quarantined. Of course, this will delay the operations. But I think we keep on improving from time. I think we learn from this, and I think that soon I think we will recover very fast.
Okay, and in the recovery, there's a lot of talk about build back better. So when we recover, we build back better. And I'm wondering about maritime policy reform. Is there has there been momentum to look at this industry and reform policies that I'm sure were created many decades ago to take into account all the advances in technology and the changes in terms of globalization?
Well, this. In particular, shipping industry, this is it's ongoing. It's very fast. We have it depends very much on the shipbuilding, the capacity, the import and export. We see now because I want to repeat again, 95% of the trade is through seaborne, yeah.
Okay.
And we see, like Straits of Malacca now, we have close to 1,000 ships plying Straits of Malacca.
Malaysia had the master shipping plan, if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago. What's happened to that plan? Well, it's something that MIMA has got to do a real study on that. Okay. But of course, we have to appreciate some of the concern, some of the problem. That it's because shipping by nature is international. It's not only for Malaysia. Like so we have to look at some of these legislation issued by International Maritime Organization (IMO) in London, and also there's ITF, International Federation of Workers, and they have a lot of issues. Issue of security, issue of about trade, economics, embargo, a lot of things, and now. How do we? Although Malaysia is very important, Straits of Malacca is one of the most busy waterways in the world. However, it is not ours. It's a transit passage. We can just look at it. We cannot force them to be at our ports. It's up to us to prepare for the ecosystem
Right, and attract them there. I want to ask you, because you mentioned security, you know, has the problem of piracy, is it long gone? I know in some parts of the world, the Horn of Africa, you know, Somalian pirates are big, I think, and they create headlines all the time. But what about, you know, the issues of freedom of navigation in the South China Sea? That's a big issue. And, you know, it involves superpower rivalry in South China Sea. Is that something that Malaysia is prepared to deal with? I mean, are they looking at all these possible scenarios with superpower rivalry in South China Sea?
Malaysia alone, you know, we are part of the international community. We have to, you know, we have to look around, you know, and keep on, you know, keep abreast of all developments. Things happening in South China Sea is I think play of the big boys, you know. So we are here. We have our own territory.
Do the small boys have
any power?
Or do they have a strategy?
Yeah.
We
are part of the world community. We have our say in the UN, in IMO, and of course, you see this. We have our friend as well, you know. But we maintain we are actually a neutral country. So we like to be like before and continue to be like that. To be a peaceful country.
Friends to everybody, both sides.
Friends to everybody, yes. But of course, this is not easy in this time now. I think there's some you know comments and by a lot of politicians about this, you know. But this is actually a big issue. Rather that this thing is tackled by our foreign ministry, you know.
It involves defense, a lot of diplomacy and foreign policy.
Probably MIMA is best. Now we're focused now on economy now, you see.
Well, speaking about that, and you did talk a little bit about how, you know, Straits of Malacca is an attractive line, but you can't force them to stop at our ports, right?
Yeah.
What is needed to increase Malaysia's attractiveness in that respect? I mean, how do we make it so that we are an attractive port to stop at?
Well, first you must have the ecosystem.
We don't have it yet?
We have it, but not as good as some other ports. You can only look at Singapore. They have been long there, you know, more than 100 years, you see. Let's say, everything, you're going to have it there. You know, a very effective crew change, the bunkering services, you know, and other things, you know, all the services, they are good. So people they like to go there.
Right.
Even some industries, you know, like dry docking, they go all the way from the Europe to do the repairs in Singapore because of the services. Efficiency. We can see now we are moving, but probably not that level yet. But I am sure with the right policy and the people, we can you know increase this and be more attractive to foreign investors and for those who want to stop at our ports.
Datuk Sabirin, that's all the time we have for you on this episode of Considers. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Melisa Idris.
And I'm Sharaad Kuttan, signing off for the evening.
Thank you so much for watching, and good night.